Let's see if it works.
Oh.
Yeah.
I just be a good girl.
Well, Carol's with the Carol's her shoes. That's where she goes. Okay, so it says that we're live on Facebook. So you go with your shoes for your personality.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so it says that we're live. So welcome everybody to Bookkeeper's Corner for Friday, March the 19th. And as you can see, we're having Zoom fun today. So some of us have fun glasses, and Lawrence, he's all natural. Au naturel there. So he's
I'm not wearing my birthday suit.
There you go, Lawrence.
No Zoom filters, I meant. Let's clarify that.
Yes.
Okay, so
The real deal.
exactly.
Doesn't come
All
easy.
100% man, real deal there. And if his wife was watching, she'd be like, forget it. Sorry, you're not allowed on these calls anymore. Oh, anyway, okay, so let's get try to
You
get
talking
serious.
to them again?
Oh gosh. Okay, so I thought a quick question that we could have today. This kind of came up earlier on a call that I was on with somebody, and she had this awesome little Disney mug of her favorite Disney character. So I thought a quick question that we could have as we introduce ourselves, we could say, what Disney character do you most identify with? So I am Tanya Hilt, founder of Cloud Business Services and Tanya's Bookkeepers Bootcamp. And I have to say, I most identify with Tigger because my personality is extremely close to Tigger. Like, you guys get the really calmed down version of me. If you know me, and my nickname growing up or through teenage years was Spaz, and I earned it for a reason. So I identify very much with Tigger. So let's go clockwise. Jessica, you're next.
Hi, Jessica Fox, Bandora Fox on Facebook from Florida Virtual Bookkeeper. And it's funny because you will probably think I will choose some Star Wars character. I am not a
Because they're Disney now, right?
I'm not a princess person at all, but really in terms of identifying, it has to be Belle. Like, just lock me in a castle with a library. I'll be reading all day long.
Awesome. All right, Lawrence.
Hi, Lawrence Fox, Accounting Wizard Solutions from the sunniest basement in Thornhill, Ontario. And Han Solo, and I shoot first.
I was going to say today it looks like Gaston, the physical Gaston, right? So all the French beret, but no Han Solo.
Gaston, yeah, but Gaston, like, you know, Gaston is a dick.
That's just the French part. Yeah, he's not a nice guy. Han Solo, awesome. Okay, and of course you can't say that because that's
with the way my hair is going lately, Chewbacca.
Well, who doesn't love Chewie though, right? Seriously. All right, Suzanne, you're next.
Okay, well, I think I'm Minnie Mouse. Anyway, Suzanne from Real Balance Accounting over on the Pacific Coast, Canada, Vancouver, Richmond. Yep. And Minnie Mouse I am.
And you know what? I think I remember Minnie actually wearing the same thing that you're wearing. So there you go. All right, Michelle. She's freezing.
She's now in Frozen.
Yeah.
I'm Michelle Hugo. I've got Blue Ledger in Provost. You hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
We can hear you now. Yeah.
I'm in East Central Alberta, Provost, Alberta. My internet connection apparently is now unstable. I don't know my Disney characters, but I'm going to go with, I'd probably say Minnie Mouse too, because that is who I've got on my watch. And I've been Minnie Mouse a few times for Halloween. So I think I'm going to go with that one.
That works. We got a couple of Minnies today then. All right. And last but most certainly not least, Carol.
I'm Carol Kostachuk of Carol On Call Business Services Limited in not so sunny Maple Ridge, BC. I would have to say I kind of have a split personality. I would say I'd be like Ariel because I really do like to collect things and quite bubbly. But also I would be a Tigger because I can get pretty happy-go-lucky.
You're totally a Tigger. Absolutely. I see the Tigger. I totally see, but you're right. You like to collect things. And yes, I can see the Ariel. Awesome. And yeah, Lawrence just typed in the chat here. Some days he can be a dopey or grumpy. And you know what? I think all of us have those days too.
Or,
Yeah,
or
but some days
Eeyore.
I'm dopier than others.
Or an Eeyore day. I had an Eeyore. I was Eeyore yesterday. Let me tell you, there was no Tigger about me. I was all Eeyore. It was all I could do just to keep my eyes open yesterday.
Tanya, it's funny, but I've been doing some work with a copywriter, and she says whenever you write for the Tiggers in your audience, not the Eeyores.
Sorry, say that again?
Write for the Tiggers in your audience, not the Eeyores.
Oh, yes.
Yep. That actually makes a lot of sense.
And if you'll notice on my revamped homepage, there is a Tigger reference.
I think you mentioned that once before,
Yeah,
that you had a Tigger reference. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so is everybody, I don't know, was there anything somebody wanted to talk about in specific? Today, we were talking about Jessica's glasses and where she got them from.
Well,
And I don't, hopefully you guys have noticed, I love them. They're awesome. They jump right out. Totally personality. And of course, as you say, they match your shirt.
Yes, even my husband was shocked. I am Miss Purple. Everything is purple. It's like, you got something blue? But you cannot tell. They're glittery. So if you see me in person, they're sparkly and very fairy-like.
Nice.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. So I don't know, any accounting discussions, topics
Oh, I
that we
was just
had?
gonna say when you talked about that dedicated tax line number.
Right.
So when I went on there, I had the epiphany, like, oh, I'm incorporated now.
I haven't registered under the incorporation either.
So
Okay.
I phoned on the little break as I went to make my lunch. And so what she said is I need to go on, which I'm doing right now, log in, register as a corporation for your e-file.
Yeah.
You're fine with what you're doing. And then as soon as this comes in, they'll cancel my proprietorship e-file account. And then this one will be active.
Oh, okay. So
Did you
I've
move
already
your
done that
HST
part of
number
it.
over?
What's that?
Did you get a new HST number to go for the corporation?
I have a new GST number, yes. That stuff I did right away. It was just this one part I didn't even think of.
Yeah, so just we'll kind of reverse back. So what we're talking about, and I'd love to know, Jessica, if you guys have something similar to this in the US, for our US listeners. So in Canada, we've got CRA now it's the dedicated telephone service pilot project. They're still calling it a pilot project. It's in beta, and essentially it's a different phone line where income tax professionals or accounting professionals can call in for questions and rulings. So that's kind of what we're talking about, that you have to register for it, get into it, and then you'll be able to call in and get a higher level knowledge person right away. Now, most of the time, my experience is they've not been able to necessarily give me an answer right away, whereas on the other lines, they have been. What they do is they go away, they research the rulings, and then get back to us. So first off, do they have anything like that similar with the IRS?
Yes, I don't do taxes myself, but I do know that there is a tax preparer hotline that a lot of my colleagues talk about having to call.
Okay.
And usually if you file taxes in the US, you need to have a P10, a preparer's tax identification number. I forget what it's called. I know that I have to renew it every year, and now they started to charge for it. So even though I don't do taxes, because I sometimes do some informational returns or payroll tax returns for clients, I get that number to have. So yes, you do have to register as a taxpayer with the IRS if you do any paid tax work for others. And there is a phone line that I've never had to call, and I hope I never do.
Awesome. Well, that's good to know that there's help there as well too. So if anybody, doesn't know about those, definitely look them up. I'm assuming, again, like you say, you've got to have, your we call it our e-file number. So you have to have your number for that and then register, but that's good. So yeah, people aren't aware of that. Yes, I know Canada, basically just Google CRA dedicated telephone tax service, and the IRS, or what was it called?
Tax preparer hotline.
tax preparer.
I think that's what it's called, or at least that's what my colleagues mention when they're venting to me about having to call the IRS.
Well, when I type in IRS tax preparer hotline, it brings up a phone number and a website. So yeah, exactly.
Speaking of taxes, since Jessica and I both don't do them.
I don't either now.
Okay.
Woo-woo!
Well, see, and here's the thing. I got an email from a guy who's known me for years that knows that I don't do taxes. And he said to me, Lawrence, I need help preparing the tax return for my late mother. Can you help me? So Jessica, how do you get the message across to people that you don't do tax work?
I simply say, I'm sorry, I can't, but here's the phone number, the contact information of somebody that one of my colleagues that do. That's why I have that form that I think you have filled out of my referral list. Oh, you're looking for this? I just type in a quick search on that database and it's like, here, contact this person.
Okay. But it's just those questions that come up automatically, even though you've told people for 5 years, I don't do tax work. They just
I haven't had that
automatically
problem.
assume-
Usually I just have to say it once. And then if they ask again, it's they'll ask me for a recommendation rather than asking me for help.
Okay. I just find it interesting. I just don't know why they just doesn't penetrate.
Well, there was something that I shared sometime in the last several months on through the group and through social media, and it was a little blog thing of like 3 or 4 different people sitting at the desk, and it was what my family thinks I do, what people think I do, or my clients think I do, what my friends think I do, and what I really do. Very different pictures of all of them. Yeah. Yeah. And of course I should share out that we've got, and I'm going to have to find one. So if anybody on here knows of a link that the US can get it, we need to that. So there is something that I share at every tax season that I absolutely love. And I'll find a link because I don't want anybody to be left out because it's hilarious. So Schitt's Creek, not swearing anybody out there. It's SCHITTS. Schitt's Creek has things. So anybody here watch Schitt's Creek? Okay.
Got around to it.
Oh gosh,
I'm still
no.
in season 2. It's one of those, like I started to watch while recovering from surgery, and then
Okay.
I re-entered society and I haven't gone back to it, but I plan to.
Okay, so you're either have just seen this or just getting to, because I believe it's season 2. Anyway, it's not a write-off. Have you gotten?
Well, I've seen the.
I saw it. Oh my God. I was like nodding along and relating to it. And then I had to tell my husband about it. And he's just looking at me like, why is this relevant? And I'm like, you don't get it. You don't live in my world.
Exactly. It is the funniest thing. So just a quick recap of it, and then I'll have to share it out. I'll put it in the link to here to this later tonight. And like I say, I'll look for a link that our US friends can watch too, because every time I seem to share it, the Canadians can watch it, and I get from my US friends are like, I can't see it. I can't get to it. So, but yes, it's essentially the son. So the dad was an accountant or a finance business manager, something to do with finance. And they lost all their money, the whole series, they lost their money, and they were famous, whatever. So anyway, the kid goes out to get a job, and his boss gave him a credit card and said, buy what you need for the store. I can write it off. So then he goes out and buys a whole bunch of stuff. He bought bedding for himself and all this stuff. And he says, well, I'm testing it out for the store. So it's a write-off. So his dad goes into the motel room and was like, where did you get this from? Oh, it's a write-off. And they have this, like, it's a 3-4 minute sketch. And then the dad, who's Eugene Levy, is like, but it's not a write-off, because he's like, what do you think a write-off is? And the son's like, well, write-off is something that you buy and you write it off. And he's like, well, who do you think writes it off? And he's like, I don't know, the write-off people. And then it's yeah. And then the dad goes, no, a write-off is, a business expense that is deducted against your taxable business. And then the son is like, well, why don't they call it a tax write-off? And he's like, it is, but it's absolutely hilarious. But you're right, Jessica, nobody other than us gets it. And I shared it every tax season. And I just got to that last week with my daughter. We're watching.
Even my cat was looking at me like, why are you laughing so much? And my husband is like, what's so funny? But it goes to show, because I don't know about you, but I've had those type of clients.
Yes.
They are of the mentality that because they use the business account, it's a tax deduction. And
Yes.
having to explain to them that your Adam and Eve purchase is not entertainment, that visit to the strip club is not entertainment.
Right.
How did you take your
You know,
client?
like so many things. I mean, we could probably come up with a very funny list of things that you've seen in clients' accounts that are not
Well,
deductible, but
I
you get the
actually
gist.
I had a client ask me one time, no, it was a dog stud service. He had a male dog he was going to, sub out for females. And so he phoned me one day, and that was a pup, right? It was Winston's stud service. And he phoned me one day, he says, can I write off my coffee table? I'm like, no. He goes, well, the dog chewed it. I said, well, sucks to be you, but no. He goes, well, I have to replace it. I said, well, that's not CRA's fault that you didn't take care of your dog to not chew your coffee table.
I have one client who is a DJ. He does weddings and stuff. And his accountant for years has told him, yeah, you can write off a certain percentage of your clothing as a interest. I know. I looked at it a little cockeyed, and I said to him one time, client, do you only wear these clothes when you're on stage? He says, of course not. I said,
There you go.
I said, okay, I'm not going to fight with your account. But I had a client once upon a time, a very old personal friend of mine that I did the books for a short time. And he wanted to write off his suits and ties because he says, I had them made custom. I need to dress up nicely. I work downtown on Bay Street. And I says, so does everybody else. And they don't write it off unless you're performing.
Well, and
I had
that's
a guy who
exactly
wanted to
it.
write off his
He said, I
Armani
am
suit.
performing every day. I'm trying to make sure they don't think I'm a fake.
No, he wanted to write off his Armani suits. He was a salesman. And I said, well, no, because CRA deems it that it is a suit you can be buried in. So no. He says, well, what if it has a logo? I said, yeah, if you stitch the logo right across the front of it to make it a uniform, sure. He goes, well, no, it's Armani. I would put it on the inside. I said, then no.
I don't
Oh
know.
my
These guys, really come up with some interesting expenses. And, it only takes one time for them to be audited.
Oh, yeah.
One time.
Well, I had a client who's no longer a client, and this is part of the reason, but they tried to put through for their managers. They are a food court restaurant in a food court in a mall. For the office manager, this is what they said for their store manager, who they were not having a relationship with. They were having a relationship apparently, so the rumors go, and so the address showed of somebody else that was the workers, but not the manager. But so to write off for the manager is a birthday present for the manager, a personal hair removal system, $300. And I went back and I said, we know who we bought it for. It wasn't the manager, it was the girlfriend. So I went back and I said, well, no, or one of the girls went back and said, no, this can't be done. I said, well, this is what she wanted. So I went out and bought it for her. I said, okay, well, here's the choices. We can either put it on her T4s as a taxable benefit, in which case she'll be taxed on it and she'll know about it, or you can buy one for everybody and have them sign off that they've received it, because I knew he wouldn't do that. Have them sign off that it was a gift and they've received it. Fine, I guess won't put it through. And I said, well, you know what, if you really don't agree, I said, like, and he was the same one that came back with other things. I'm like, you know what? If the accountant agrees with you, the accountant is doing the tax return, the accountant can go in and change it. It'll show in the audit logs, the accountant changed it. I'm not moving it. That's it. Like, oh, people are crazy. Yeah, I had somebody the other day, I can't remember what it was, and I ended up getting into, I usually get into the Capone, argument with some people, or the Capone side. I said, you know what, just remember, we may be Canada, but we have very similar tax rules as the states of tax evasion, and they got Capone for tax evasion. You know, you say that, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay. And then, but I even had to go a step further with this person. I can't remember what it was they were trying to write off, but I actually got into not just tax evasion, but not extortion. Yeah, what is it when you steal from? I'm brain dead today. I'm having I guess a dopey day.
Embellishment.
No, it
I know what you're
starts with-
talking about, and I just blanked out.
Yeah, it starts with an E. You're stealing
Embezzlement.
from your company. Embezzlement. Thank you. Thank you. That was it. But
I
yes,
need to get some
embezzlement.
more coffee.
But and so that's I said it's technically embezzlement because you are stealing from the company. So the government can look at it that way. It's certainly in there. Like these people don't understand that you cannot use it as a personal bank account.
So I got an email this week from a client, and she said, my friend took a video of me that we used for business purposes, and she gave me an invoice, and I paid her. I think I paid her cash. So she just emailed me to say, do I have to declare it? Friend.
Yeah.
So she says, I'll check with my accountant, and sends me the email. So I called her the next day and I said, I'm not putting this in writing, but do me a favor. Never ask your accountant or your bookkeeper if you can help a friend evade taxes.
Wow.
You
Yeah.
know, I worked too damn hard to get this designation to lose it over $300.
Exactly.
Okay. I used to have a client who was a plumber, and I would look at the bills and I'd say, Mrs. Smith didn't pay the bill. Yes, she did. No, she didn't. Here's the bill. It's never been paid. Then he looked at me and said, Lawrence, it's been paid. To which I said, then don't bring the paperwork into the office. If something's going to fall off the table, don't expose me to it.
Yep.
Now
Yeah.
that stopped once he hired employees. Because
Well, you know what?
he
I
didn't
think
want
that-
them taking his stuff off the truck and putting cash in their pockets.
Right.
So he didn't teach the apprentices how to do that.
Right.
You know, the big thing, you know, with these guys that take cash and do deals and whatever, you know, oh, well, I owe them this money for this, you know, but I did a job here or whatever. I said, stop. No, this is not happening. You do an invoice, he does an invoice, you pay it, he pays it, that's it.
Or
There's no-
if you do a deal, I don't want to know about it.
I know, but then it comes to Lawrence, you know, he's got all this, you know, material that he's, you know, expensing out, not enough sales.
That's not my problem.
No, it's not our problem, but
It's when the invoice comes in the office that I can't close my eyes to that existed.
Right.
yeah.
No
See-
receipt, no deduction.
I
We've
did
got
have-
to-
Noel.
Yeah.
And
Sorry.
whenever somebody comes like that and they do it once, I give them the benefit of the doubt. Like they don't know better, they need education. I educate them on being up compliant and above the board and what is expected of them. If they choose to continue doing that, I personally don't want an association. Like it's not, don't tell me I don't want to know. Like if I know you're doing it and not telling me, I'm disengaging you.
Yeah.
Because I like, you know, Lauren said, I have a reputation to uphold.
Yeah. Well, it's our businesses that are at risk.
Exactly. Well,
It's not just the business, but as I said, you know, I mean, I worked a long time to get my CMA designation, and the last thing I want is the CMA, now the CPA, to look at me and say, oh, you know, not only is CRA going to be on your backside for aiding and abetting this kind of stuff. There goes your designation, dude, and we're going to publish the reason for it.
well, there was an accountant in Toronto, and his first name was Paul. I can't remember his last name. I know it was Paul. And what had happened was I lost a ton of clients to him, tax clients, because I had a ton of police, and I would not write off without having the proper paperwork, the T2200, here for Canadians, to be able to write off their mileage to and from the courthouse and whatnot when they were not on shift. And I said, no, I need to have this to say that it's a condition of your employment. Otherwise, I can't do it. Oh, well, this guy downtown does it. Great. Go
Bye.
to this guy downtown Toronto. You know, I won't do it. It is not proper.
Yeah.
6 years later, a whole bunch of them came back to me, plus several more, because of the fact that he ended up in jail. So they not just shut down his business, they put him in jail because they found that he was doing it purposely and fraudulently. He knew better. And there was obviously a lot. It was most of his practice. There was a ton of them because they started noticing, they just went through when they, you know, kind of started noticing that these, you know, that the police had their, you know, their T4's employment and had this, and then started noticing that they were all with the same person. So then they went in, started doing more, pulled a Z file number, started checking more, then went in, and yeah, so it was
They
a
could go
big
check
sting.
your whole client list if they wanted to.
That's
No.
exactly. So I had some of these people owed back tens of thousands of dollars to the government, plus penalties and interest. And this guy spent, I think it was, he was 5 years in jail, lost his CPA license, lost his business. You're right, they published it. Like, you're not meant, like, people don't understand that. Like,
And that's the same thing with what we were
You're not
talking about
messing
earlier
around.
with the sole prop and employee, or not sole prop, contractor versus employee thing.
yeah.
Same thing. You can
Yeah.
get in trouble for that.
Yeah, for knowingly doing, again, they got tax, you know, or like Al Capone with tax evasion, tax fraud, tax, all of this stuff. It can be a big deal. They don't often do that if it's just something smaller. They think, okay, it's just a little mistake. But if they find that it is purposefully being done, somebody is purposely skirting the laws.
Yeah.
The laws are there. Canada or the US, they're there for them to get.
Let's
And
talk reality here. As my late father used to say, pigs get fat, but hogs get slaughtered. We all know people that have been in businesses where there's a certain amount of cash flowing around. Now there's fewer and fewer dollars of cash. But I grew up in a family that owned a car wash and a gas station.
right.
Okay. So we learned a few things. That's all I'm going to say. But you know, we all know that there's people in a business where there's a certain amount of cash transactions, and we all know that 100% of them are not being reported.
Yeah.
You know it.
You know, when
Yeah.
I was on
Yeah.
vacation, I went to a cafe that's very popular. It's one of those must-visit destinations, and it's cash only. And my husband is like, "Oh, how odd!" And I'm like, "Do you realize, like, is it just me because of my industry? But whenever I see cash only, I think tax evasion." And you know, he's just looking at the menu, planning what he's going to eat, and I'm just looking at how much business they're doing, and I'm like, how much of that actually gets reported?
Yes.
I know somebody who said when she was putting herself through school, she worked in a bunch of restaurants that only paid the staff in cash. And I said, really? Boy, my antenna go up when I hear that.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, I
So-
did. I had a job, but I
as I
was,
said, we all know it happens. The question is, at what point do we look at a client and say, you're making me uncomfortable with the level of unreported income that's happening?
Yeah.
Because you're never going to stop it in some businesses.
No.
Okay. Landscaping, contractors,
All sorts of things.
all sorts of things that are still, to a certain extent, a lot of cash
yeah.
floating around. Are you restaurants? We all know how many waiters and waitresses do you know report 100% of their tips? None.
One.
None.
I know one.
Okay.
I know one.
Okay.
Well, sorry, I don't know that she reports 100%, but she gives me a number that is, oh, she joined the fun.
Because
Yes, I know one person, and she gives me, it's about 20%, generally 15 to 20%, and it varies every year. It's not an exact number,
I know.
but otherwise, none.
And not only that, but they won't do it because the rest of the people who work in the restaurant who don't do it will give them the message.
Yeah.
To not report 100%, because that will get them in trouble. But the taxing authorities know this.
Yeah.
they have the advantage of, as we know, of huge databases of numbers. So if a
Mhm.
waiter or waitress
Oh, they kind of
reports
know what the
the
industry.
wrong number of
is. Yeah.
tips, then they'll go after them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They report $0 in tips, you know that there's going to be an investigation.
Yep.
Unless the person says, I was the world's worst waitress.
Right.
But you
In
did it
which
for
they would have
10
been
years.
fired. So yeah, no, people just, yeah.
Right? So there is a point, I'm sure that some of us would feel uncomfortable when we looked at the books and said, there's a point at which I can't take this anymore. There's a point at which I'm going to look the other way.
Yeah, I just walk the other way, like
All the
out
time?
door.
If,
All
if
the
No,
I
out the
know,
door. I tell clients, everything is above board. I generally speaking for a lot of years, I didn't take any construction clients. I had one. And yeah, anyways. So I said, I will not take construction clients. Anyways, I got one guy and I said, look, I'm gonna be flat up straight out with you. I know construction. I know there's a lot of under the table. That's not me. Honesty, integrity, 100% above board. If I find out I even sense you're doing something that I'm not comfortable with, I will fire myself.
Okay.
And I just,
And
and it's
I'm like
flat out
that.
there in the open. And, you know, for him, he was like, no, I totally want to do this above board. I totally want to do it right, blah, 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 blah. And generally speaking, he did. I had another client who, you know, was billing fine and then came along July and August, didn't bill a damn thing. So I asked his brother, who was also one of my clients, I said, so is so-and-so on vacation? He's not working this summer? He goes, what are you talking about? He works every day. He's working like a dog. I said, oh, okay. And that's all I said. I did not say anything to him because that's not for me to say. And then I went home and I just politely wrote a letter, dropped off all this stuff and said, I can no longer do your books. Didn't say why. I just said, I can no longer do your books. Because they knew, obviously, there's no way you can work for 2 months and not bill a penny.
right.
Carol, you're a better person than I am.
I have one person that I have suspicions, but you know what? He still claims a ton. He's retail. I have a feeling some stuff is falling off the back of the truck, but you know what? He's still putting 300,000 plus of sales a month.
Yeah.
You know, the numbers are still there, but if I were to find out, if I were to actually hear, I'm like, you know what? Again, that's in line with me that I don't want to be able to be say that I knew and I still worked on the books.
Oh,
like
absolutely.
regardless, because I think with people, they find like there's that line. If you cross that line, they start to move it, right? That line starts to move, and I just don't want those headaches. So if there's anybody else, I truly don't know about it. I've got 2 restaurants, so but if there's
subject, but it still works the same. Once you become a pickle, you can never be a cucumber again.
very true. Very true. Very true. And I wouldn't want that reputation of dealing with people. So, you know, if something's going on, I have 0 suspicions at this point of any of the others, except for, like I say, the one I have my suspicions, but I don't know for certain. He's never said anything and the numbers look great and he still pays CRA a fortune. So
yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
we can hear you now.
I just want to say to Carol's point, you do have to be careful because a few of us here, 2, 3 of us, 4 of us are CPBs, and we do have ethics and discipline.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
But here's what I'll say, Carol,
Oh.
to that is that you handled that exactly right, because everybody thinks, oh, you know, our ethics and discipline says that we can't be doing things that we know are illegal. Yes.
Yeah.
But it also states very clearly that we cannot be saying anything to the clients about it.
No.
We have to hold that information that we find out about, as you did, to ourselves.
Oh yeah.
And they have to leave for any reason other than what we know the reason is, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So good on you for being careful with that, Carol.
Yeah. No, I just, you know,
Well, and again, like it's important.
Excuse me, the cat is calling.
Okay.
I want to put my head on the pillow at night. I mean, I have enough trouble sleeping when I know I've got work to do on my desk. I don't want to have to put my head on my desk or head on my pillow thinking about, is somebody going to get audited? I mean, I know people that get, I've been in audits. I have no problem with that because I know the books I'm doing are clean. So I would not want to be doing books for someone and then be wondering if there's going to be an audit, how I'm going to explain what I agreed for them to do that wasn't above board.
Yeah, if you knew about it. I mean,
Yeah.
your books
Yeah.
are as clean as you know. Because often there may be things you don't
Yeah.
know about, but
Yep.
True.
Yep, absolutely. Lawrence, I love your cat. So gorgeous. Oh my gosh.
Thank
You
you.
didn't even put your cat face on.
Hmm?
You didn't put your cat face on.
So
Nah.
gorgeous. I love black cats and I
That's
love
it.
fluffy cats.
That's all she wanted. She wanted a few minutes of cuddling. Are you gonna go upstairs and poop on the bed again?
Oh,
My mother had a cat and she sent him in to get fixed and she brought him home and he was an adult. He was many years old by the time she got him fixed. So she felt him jump up on the bed in the middle of the night, felt him walk on her and was like, okay, he's just coming up to lie down on my stomach. No, he backed up to her face, peed on her face, and walked away. He only did that once, otherwise he never had an issue. He never peed in the house, but he was letting her know he was not pleased at all with what she did.
I don't know if she was upset with us about something or just has a problem with her tummy.
that would have been a gone. Well, I'm not a cat lover anyways, but that would have been a gone cat.
I love cats though. I mean, it's like your children. It's the way they communicate, right? I mean,
Well, I'm a dog
like,
lover.
you know,
Don't
it's, yeah,
don't
you're
get me
happy.
wrong. I love animals, but yeah.
So it's, yeah. So it's like if your dog did something like that, or your child
She's
did
trying to tell me
something,
she's hungry right now.
right?
Go speak to Ruffy. He'll feed you.
Yeah. So we
Like, I'm
actually
the
were
only
speaking,
person in the house she can tell that she's hungry.
of course.
Oh yeah.
So Diane, we were speaking of your course
Oh, come,
actually earlier
damn it.
today.
Open the fridge yourself.
you were speaking of me?
Of the course of trifold in the course.
Oh,
Yeah, in an earlier call, we were talking about the employees versus subcontractors, and of course, Vanda and Leanne were both on the call, and they were both saying, "Yep, we just talked about that last week in trifold."
yes, it's a biggie. And
Yeah.
actually, right now, I want to put together a takeaway for the students in the class that they can, just have a reference back to all of the things that they now need to research when subcontractors come on.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah.
No, and that's good. And Sierra used to have a quick little test that you could go to the link and you could just answer a few questions. I looked for that link today and I couldn't find it anywhere.
Yeah, it's still, but it's buried now, whereas before it was
Oh.
right out there. But I think because they're being challenged, and in fact, Friday Night Live with accountants, Andrew and Brad.
Oh,
Yeah.
Andrew was mentioning that he actually has become a lobbyist, and in Canada, I didn't know this, you have to register to be a lobbyist.
You
Yes.
do.
Yes.
So
you
he's
do.
actually gone out and registered to be a lobbyist so that he can take and lobby that those rules and regulations that they have that are very cut and dry in reality
Yeah.
don't fit the bill anymore. A lot of companies hire subcontractors, and we need new rules around determining if that's okay or not. So yeah,
Good.
he's kind of taken that on, I guess, and because he does deal with a lot of really small companies, I guess, and they don't hire employees; they want to hire subcontractors. So
Yeah.
The big sticking point right now, I think, and what in the current definition is who provides the tools. But if you
Yes.
hire somebody as a subcontractor and say, here's the computer in the office, who's
Yeah.
provided the tool?
yes,
It's a big
that's
thing.
right.
I mean, I was through a WCB audit with a client one time. There was a lot of subcontractors, same one I was talking about. And, went through it, everything was fine. And then he's looking at it and he goes, so I noticed I don't see your name on this list of contractors. I said, no. He goes, well, but you're a contractor. I said, yes. And he
You're
kinda
a
looked, I
professional
said,
service.
I have
You're a
my own
professional
WCB
service.
account. I have many clients, not just this one.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Carol, actually, I'll just correct your terminology there if I can. It'll help you out if you ever get asked that question again. Is that Tanya's right? We're actually not contractors. We're professional services in the eye of CRA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
just it
yeah.
might help down
Well,
the
it was
road
just
if
we
you
were
get
talking
that.
about subcontractors at the time, and
Yeah.
he didn't see my name on the list of employees, and he didn't see my name on the
Yeah.
list of subcontractors. So
Yeah.
he wanted to
Yeah.
know where
Yeah.
I was on the list.
I
Well,
don't know. I had
I have my own
my
account.
my client used my fees as part of his claim for the SEBA loan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
why not?
Well, yeah, but the only category was contractor. There wasn't.
Yeah.
Oh,
a
they didn't
category
have
for professional
professional
fees.
they didn't have professional services?
I don't think so. I can't remember.
I think the word was regularly billed contracted services or something like that. It was so yeah. So I had a couple of clients that used my services for that too because we have an agreement. They ask for the agreement, and we have we've got the contract that says what it is every month, all of that. So we were allowed to be included in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that I had, and I'd love to throw this out there and get your guys' opinion, and even it'd be interesting, like for Jessica in the States, did something different. And our client is on our side, thank goodness for that. So she went to an accountant, and I have to say, like at first she's like BDO, and I'm sorry if anybody out there takes offense, but any time I've had experience with BDO, I don't think of BDO as real accountants because they're working more with BDO, business development. I don't know what BDO is.
They're money
But
lenders.
they're money lenders and working more with debt. So that's where he does her taxes anyway. Comes back this year. He specifically said, so she told us and we called her and she says, I don't care what you do because that doesn't make sense. She says, I just relayed the message. He wants us to move our fees from legal and accounting services to office expenses because bookkeeping is not a professional service. So we called her back and we said, we provide accounting services. So absolutely, we are professional accounting services.
Yeah.
We don't do the tax return. That's like saying an accountant, I'm sorry, you're an income tax preparer. You just prepare corporate income taxes. So that's fine. She says it makes sense to her. She says she'd like to see our services separated out. So we said, okay, great. We'll just do a little subcategory. The accountant really wants to change it for the tax return. He can take care of that when he files the tax return. Then we get the year-end adjustments, and the year-end adjustments aren't moving us, our fees, not even to office fees, to dues and subscriptions. I'm like, what? So I am actually going to email him back and I'm going to say, I am not comfortable with that journal entry. Can you please provide me in writing something that I can put on my files as to why you're doing that so I can be sure this is not a mistake?
No, he's playing silly buggers with the allocations.
Yeah.
He wants, there's something he's trying to accomplish with.
Well, he's trying to belittle you.
And I'm not comfortable with that.
No.
So first thing, I'm going to question that one, on that. And then if he does want to, our client agreed that she says, if he asks again to move our fees from their legal and accounting and professional fees, she says, I'll direct him to you. And I said, please do. Because I am not moving it. If he wants to move it on the tax return, great. But I will question him every single time because I'm not comfortable with that. I will question him every single time and say, can you please just justify this to me that something I can keep in my record so I know this is not an error? Because I'm the one that deals with the CRA audits, not him.
Yeah.
Gee, those are the journal entries I just forget to post.
That's I saying we haven't posted that one yet either.
I wouldn't even have the conversation with the account.
I'm with you, Lawrence. I get those kinds of things all the time over the last 30
Really?
years. And oh yeah, absolutely. And if I don't like the journal entry and it's just an income statement reclassification, it's my decision whether or not I do them.
I mean,
well, you know what? That's good enough for me.
Don't forget, let's say, so if you're using QuickBooks Desktop and his year end and the HST are the same thing, and you do the filing in QuickBooks, and you owe money to the government, where does that payable go? It goes on the trade payables, and it
Yeah.
disappears from HST payable, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
how many accountants at the end of the year look at that and say, I want you to do a journal entry and take it out of AP and put it back into
Back.
HST payable?
Yeah,
And I just look at that and say, no. You want to change it for the financial statements? Fine. I'm not
That's
going
right.
to fart around with it in QuickBooks. It's not
That's right.
necessary.
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, I'm pretty bold about it. These are my books. You just import them into your books, which is a tax program, and you can do whatever you want over there. But
Yeah.
if it doesn't make sense for the actual business owner and it's not affecting the balance sheet, that's a different story,
Yeah.
right? And it's just a reallocation in my mind. I totally choose whether or not I'm going to do it.
One thing I do with all of my clients is after they give me the year-end adjustments and I post them all, I take the trial balance in QuickBooks, I take the trial balance that the auditor has prepared, and I
Yeah.
have a spreadsheet and I plug both sets of the numbers in. First of all, I do that because occasionally I've made a data entry mistake.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
So I
Wait,
catch
yeah,
that.
balances, yeah.
Okay. And then anything that's different between his number and my number, it stands out and I'll make a note.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right in the next cell, a
Yeah,
little
right in the
comment
next
there
cell,
saying
or
why
you'll
it's
see-
different.
You'll see it'll be a minus $200 on this GL
Yep.
account and a plus 250 on that one. And so
Yeah.
it's pretty damn obvious
Yeah.
what happened, and I just leave it there.
Here's the bottom line. Most accountants will only look at the retained earnings to make sure they match in the previous
Exactly.
year. Anyways,
Yeah.
they don't care.
That's right. And most of them, if you're
Right.
off $20, $50, they just adjust it and keep going. I have
That's right.
one who's a pain in the ass about it. And every year it takes me an extra 2 hours because the client is backdated transactions,
Yeah.
changes all the retained earnings. Don't ask. I'm
Yeah.
not going to fight with them. And I just go through it and I figure out what happens. I go back and I make a reversing journal entry and now the retained earnings are okay and everybody's happy. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
But the first year it happened, the CPA thought I was the incompetent person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We give
Well,
at the end of the course, we give a checklist for year-end procedures to the students. And number one is check retained earnings previous year as they're going through their year-end.
Number two should be make sure you posted last year's adjusting entries.
I think
laugh.
it's in there. I think
Okay,
it is
good.
in there, actually. I'll have to pull it out and look.
Because I started doing a year end for one client and I'm looking at him going, oh my God, I didn't get last year's adjusting entries to put through and I haven't done them yet. So now on my checklist, item number one is make sure last year's journal entries were received
We're
and
posted. Yeah. Well, I guess you'd know that pretty quick if you check the retained earnings.
Yeah, yes, but that's how I
Yeah.
part of what
Yeah. Absolutely. It's a good checklist.
Yeah,
It's to
yeah.
go
actually
through.
the first thing I do is I check the amortization
Right.
amount.
Do you get that kind of stuff, Jessica?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I just went through this while I was on vacation. I get an email from a client's tax preparer. This is they've only been with me for a year. So this is the first time that I'm dealing with this tax preparer. And they're talking about this nonsense that doesn't affect anything at the end of the day. They were just being a stickler and some of their logic was unfounded. So I told my client, because originally my client didn't want the tax accountant to make adjustments, but he really wanted to make adjustments into the books. He really wanted them done. So I told her, it's like, well, I will put the ones that he sends that I consider reasonable, and the ones that I don't consider to be reasonable, I will post and immediately reverse with a screenshot of the email. But in reality, I would prefer if it didn't come to that. So we came to the agreement that I would give him the closing password to post the adjustments. Then I would change the closing password and reverse his stuff. Everybody's happy. She just no more conflict. I didn't have to drop anything while I was on vacation. So today I was working on the file and I'm looking at the stuff to undo and I'm like, what was he thinking? Like, I haven't seen this in 21 years.
It's crazy.
But my guess is this is a person that's fresh out of college.
Hmm.
that doesn't have
Um.
proper mentoring because she's using this startup that is very popular in the US, where for a monthly fee they'll set up an S corp and do your books and do your taxes and do everything, and she's done everything for us except the bookkeeping, which she kept with me. And now I won't be surprised if she won't do their taxes with them either next year.
Wow.
Hey,
Crazy.
clients can't live with them, can't live without them.
Yeah, but you do see it a
Yeah.
lot at year end, depending. And then there's other accountants that you work with. I've got an accountant I've been working with on probably at least, it kind of fluctuates a bit, but at least 6 clients every year. And they don't question a thing. They know, like, really. So just totally depends.
But there are some things every year.
Well,
I
this same
purposely-
account,
Sorry, there's things I purposely leave up to the accountant. I tell them, I don't do the depreciation entry. I'll let you do it because we know that 90% of small businesses use the CCA as the depreciation,
Yeah,
right? We don't do it the right way. So I said, you do that calculation and whatever you want, that's what I post.
Yeah.
No, I haven't done an accrual for your
Yeah.
fees.
yeah.
Give me the entry for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
Can
like
I
you.
ask that question? I just had a client ask me that question. Why does an accrual for accounting fees sit on the books all the time? The end of
Well-
accounting, they put in the bill, we pay the bill, go again. Why must it sit on, like, at every year end, I have to reverse the previous year, put in the new one of an accrual? Why? Why? For 30 years, I asked myself that question every year that I have to do it.
I'll give you my answer, and then somebody else can chime in if they do it differently. But
Sure.
so, I mean, definitely it's a tax benefit for them to book that accrual. When I have larger clients, I book a bookkeeping accrual
So do I.
at year end too, because it reduces their income. So it's a good thing to
Oh, okay.
do, right? So
And it's
that's
a
why they do it.
But
But
having said that,
and the CA's price is going to go up every year,
yes, of course.
right?
Yeah. Yes, of course. But here's the thing, Carol, is if I book that accrual in the adjusting journal entry, as soon as I get the invoice for the year end, it gets reversed then,
Yeah.
because it's really just setting up the accrual for when the invoice does come in, right?
Yeah.
So it's not sitting on the books at year end when I send it to the accountant for the year end. He's then booking the next one.
Yeah.
But it's empty there.
Yeah.
So you could, but others, I've seen it where you just let it sit there and let them, do the debit and credit. It's it's a half a dozen one and 6 of the
Okay.
other, but
Makes sense.
Oh, no.
I never thought of it that way, but okay.
Besides, that way it gives the accountant something to do.
it allows them to justify their bill a little bit more because they did an extra journal entry.
I do all the journal entries. Yeah. But yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why you usually
Yeah.
see it. It's a tax move.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're past 4:30 and I do
Oh, we
have to
are.
run. So it was, I know time's going quick today. So thank you everybody who joined us. Thank you everybody who's watching us. And I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend.
You've got
Yes.
Yes.
For everybody
School-
celebrating the
Is spring break everywhere for
Yeah.
Yes.
everybody? I know it's
You're
here.
celebrating
BC.
Persian New
No.
Year's. Nowruz Mubarak, everybody.
Ah, yes.
Ra-
Jessica, you guys
Ramuz
are-
Rivera.
You guys are in spring break. I saw the pictures in Florida.
No, people are in Florida for spring break,
Yes.
but me and my kids are not. We homeschool, so we don't join the masses. We take our time off when others are in school and
Cool.
work.
Smart.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah, it's crowded around here. You don't want to go to Disney right now.
I know. I saw some
And they-
pictures. I'm
They
like,
put ours off
"Whoa."
until
Till
they
April.
put Ontario off until April because of course our schools were shut down. The kids just went back.
Yeah.
Pretty much they were shut down all of, when did they go back? I think mid-February, the end of last week of February, something like that. So yeah, we're shut down for a little longer.
Gail
So-
was looking at the footage from Florida and says, "Are these people crazy?"
And it's been like that for a long time. It's just now getting media attention, but Florida has been business as usual since maybe July or August.
Ah,
Yeah. It's unfortunate because it affects so many people. I have a brother that lives in Florida. Now, him and his wife, they got their shots like in January. And so, yeah, so they're going out and doing whatever. It's like, but it doesn't mean that you won't still, it's like, he phoned me the other day and he says, I haven't talked to you since Christmas. Are you mad at me? I'm like, no. He goes, oh, I said, I'm just busy. Tax season. But in reality, I can't talk to him because he wants to talk about, 99% of the people don't die from COVID. It's not a big deal.
Okay. Tell that to the dead people.
Try
Everybody have
telling
a
that to
great
somebody
weekend.
who has had a family member die from it.
I
yeah.
may not be here next Friday, but have a great weekend.
Have a
You
good weekend,
too.
Lawrence.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye, everyone. Take care.
Tanya.
Bye.
Oh, are you
Oh,
frozen?
yeah.
Or are you gone?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I'm frozen.
oh, okay. I wasn't sure if you were frozen or if you were on your way out the door there.
No, I'm frozen. Let me Facebook you. Let me Facebook.
Okay.
I'll Facebook.
Okay.
I'll call you.
Okay.